Here we'll do the mesh refinement to evaluate the level of numerical error. Exit out of mechanical and go back to the project page and right click on model and say duplicate. And that duplicates the model and everything downstream of it, but things upstream like geometry and engineering data, it's just referencing the original geometry and original engineering data. So I can't modify this geometry engineering data. I've gone and modified this, and it'll affect this as well as that. And I'll call that project mesh 2. I'll call this mesh 1. I'll use a right click on that, use capital M, and double click on model. And I'll go into mesh, and all I'll do is I will change the sizing. So the original sizing, each element edge was 0.25. So I'll use half of that. So I'll say equal to 0.25 divided by 2. Sorry. Okay, that's the value I was looking for. 0.125, and I'll say update the mesh. And since I have, if I look at the mesh, I'll have twice the number of elements in this direction and twice the number of elements in this direction. So totally I'll have 4 times the number of elements, and I can check that under mesh statistics over here. Okay, now I have 128 elements and 433 nodes. And if I click on solve, ANSYS will regenerate the algebraic equations and determine the 433 nodal temperatures, and it'll also do the post-processing that we had requested. And I can go and look at the temperature and compare that to, I can save a snapshot and compare it to the original temperature distribution. I can do the same thing for the heat flux. In fact, I can see that the heat flux at the insulated boundaries has gone down by quite a bit. So my natural boundary condition is being satisfied better and better, which is what I would expect. But I'll let you compare, the temperature contour side by side, the heat flux side by side, and also the reactions, how they change as you refine the mesh. And that brings us to the end of this this module. So I'll go to, I will exit out of here, and I'll say File, Save, and at this point I'll say File, Archive, and I'll go back to my original archive, and I'll say Save, and I'll replace it, and I'll save my results, because in this case it's not going to give me a very big file. And if you go back to the WB, to your folder, you'll see that it's overwritten the WBPZ file, and you can save that to a flash drive or a network drive if you are on a public computer. That brings us to the end of the conduction module, and in the process we have explored some really fundamental ideas in finite element and how you implement it using ANSYS.